Yeah. Hello.
Hi, y'all.
Welcome to our workshop today. I'm Jorlise, and we have Sabrina with us
Hi,
today.
everyone.
And we are super excited to share more information about self-care because it is extremely important and only gets more important especially when we're in the last couple weeks of the semester or at any point in the semester, really, because self-care just helps you to be able to um, spread out stressors versus feeling like they're overwhelming in the same way. So we're really excited to be able to share more information about that. And by the end of this workshop, you all will be able to have your own self-care plan. So really excited to share that with you too. Okay, so we're gonna get started and share a PowerPoint. Perfect. Okay, so the title of this workshop is DIY Self-Care for Busy Students. So if you like self-care or consider yourself a busy student, you are definitely in the right place. And like we shared before, by the end of this, you'll be able to make your own self-care plan from all the resources we'll be sharing with you today. So definitely stay tuned for all the good stuff. And if you have any questions at all, please feel free to unmute yourself or send something in the chat. So my name is Jorlise. I'm an academic success coach here at TCC, and I love helping students with all things goal setting, time management, self-care, of course, and being able to personalize your college experience so that way you can feel like you're thriving and like you're really getting the most out of all your learning, because there's definitely some ways to be able to personalize your experience, and I love all of that.
Hi, I'm Sabrina. I'm also a academic success coach. I really love talking to students, particularly about organization and time management, because that's a huge component of self-care is prioritizing your schedule and scheduling times to take care of yourself. So that's something that I love to incorporate when talking about self-care.
Absolutely.
So let's start off by just thinking about a couple of questions. So first of all, why is self-care important? Why do students and college students in particular need to think about self-care, focus on self-care? What are some strategies that we already have for self-care? What do boundaries have to do with self-care? What types of self-care are meaningful or important to you? And what are some of the myths that we have about self-care? I'll go ahead and answer one of these questions. Some of the current strategies I have for self-care, like I mentioned before, scheduling myself. I'm a really big to-do list person. And some of the other self-care activities I really enjoy are being outside and taking naps. I'll be very honest about that. So that's some of my self-care. Jorlise, do you want to share some of
Oh,
your
yeah.
current
I
self-care strategies?
love, thank you. I love to self-care with some music, like when I'm feeling either overwhelmed or underwhelmed. Sometimes music can really just kind of reset me. I also love being in nature too. And naps. I'm a big nap person. So much that I had to kind of stop napping as often. So what I do now is nap on the weekends. So that way I can feel less guilt about my self-care. So that's also important too.
Yeah, I hear you on that one. I also love using music as self-care, and we'll talk about that a little bit at the end of the presentation.
Mhm. Perfect, perfect. Yeah, and also, right, why do college students need to think about self-care? Because, and I think a reason why it's really important is because when you are actively working towards something, any goal at all, really, especially if it feels at all rigorous or challenging or requires you to time manage, that in itself is an opportunity to be able to prioritize doing something for yourself. So that way you can feel refueled and prevent burnout.
Yes, preventing burnout is a huge part of what we're going to talk about today.
Mhm. Perfect, perfect. Awesome. What do you think are some myths about self-care, Sabrina?
I think the biggest myth about self-care is that self-care is selfish. Because I think when we hear self, like we think, self-absorbed or something like that, but self-care is not selfish at all. In fact, the only way that you can be there for others is if you're there for yourself first. So that's probably the biggest myth about self-care. I think another myth that I have encountered about self-care is that you have to do something that costs a lot of money, like taking yourself to a spa or getting a massage or something like that. When self-care can really just be as simple as like what I was talking about before, scheduling your time, making a to-do list for yourself, making time to take care of things that you need to do for yourself, like eating, sleeping, drinking enough water. All those things are self-care, and don't have like high costs associated with them. So those are two that came to mind for me.
Love that. Ooh, so some great suggestions. Perfect. Would any of our guests like to share what some self-care methods they use right now? Feel free to unmute yourself or share in the chat.
Um, Hi, my name is Liana. Um, I would say one of my self-care is just chilling, watching movies. Um, Sometimes I like to do one of my hobbies, photography. So go out into nature, take pictures.
Mhm.
Nice. I love
That's
that.
awesome.
Those are some really good strategies. Doing things that you enjoy, things that you're passionate about. Absolutely.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. Would anyone else like to share what some self-care strategies they use?
Sure. For example, being able to just unwind after a long day, things like that. So that's a good example of it. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing as well. Being able to unwind and just relax, just chill, those are all things that can sometimes feel like a luxury, especially when you are trying to get things done or just work towards a goal. But we're definitely gonna unpack that myth today so that way it can no longer feel like possibly a luxury and something that is a priority. Oops, oops, oops. Sorry. Okay, here we are. So, what is burnout? And burnout can be described or defined as a syndrome of physical exhaustion, including a negative self-concept, negative job attitude, and loss of concern and feelings. So, I mean, this can definitely impact students because if you're feeling physically exhausted, having like a negative self-concept about your abilities and what things that you can do, on top of having negative job attitude, which work-life balance, right? So whether school is your only job or you are also working another job, definitely having a positive attitude towards work is something that would be beneficial as a student. And loss of concern and feelings, right? So if we're feeling unmotivated or unpassionate about something, it definitely may cause a toll on your goals and your self-concept about your ability to achieve them, which is definitely why being able to do things that are beneficial to yourself, your body, mind, all of that is definitely going to help with preventing possible burnout.
Yeah, on top of that, I think one thing with recognizing burnout, we use the word burnout a lot, and I don't think we always know exactly what that means, because one reason I think is that because a lot of students might be in a constant state of burnout. A lot of people like Jolie was saying, some people's school is their only job. Sometimes you work a job on top of that. When you have so many responsibilities, if you're not taking care of yourself at the same time, it's really easy to get burnt out and not even realize until it's too late. So that's kind of what we want to be able to recognize those signs and symptoms of burnout.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So some of the causes of burnout, we kind of alluded to some of these before. So some of the causes can be problems with your physical or mental health. If you have a chronic health condition, you're already very susceptible to burnout just because of that. Trouble finding motivation. Maybe you're not able to find the passion and drive for the things that you used to be excited about. Having problems in your family. If you have, difficult family relationships, that on top of everything else that you're kind of dealing with can be a common cause of burnout. Financial problems with the class. That's something that we talk about a lot of students. If you have a class that's particularly difficult, or like you have coursework overload, you might find that you become burnt out easily when you're trying to work on that class, even just a little bit. So these are all common causes of burnout that we want to think about as compounding together to kind of contribute to the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I think it's also helpful to remember too, that you may not have all the symptoms of causes of burnout, but definitely if you feel like you have a couple symptoms or just even one that is affecting your ability to, work on your goals or your mood, then that would definitely be a sign to be able to reach out for help, whether you speak with a success coach or your professor or an advisor. But all of those would be a helpful tool to be able to see what support resources are available for you if you feel any of these symptoms. Awesome. So there are 4 stages of burnout, and this would also help you to be able to recognize if you have experienced burnout before, or even recognize it in other people around you. So the first one would be exhaustion. So feeling physically, mentally, or emotionally tired. Shame and doubt, which of course includes feeling doubtful of your abilities, maybe some shame of those lack of energy or lack of motivation. Absolutely. And then the third stage would be cynicism or callousness. So kind of that would appear as maybe just a loss of interest in things. And so that could result in being more irritable about things, or just more closed off to asking for support. And stage 4, which would be failure, helplessness, or crisis, which basically looks like just shutting down in some sort, or just not knowing kind of where to go from there. And so definitely, if you're in any of the 4 stages, please feel free to reach out to someone that you trust, so that way they can help you to get to some support resources.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing about these stages is, part of the nature of these stages is it can make it hard to recognize burnout if you don't know what you're looking for. So when you have on your protective shield, you're going to use coping techniques of, kind of pushing things away, pushing away any negative emotions that you might be having, telling yourself, I can handle this, like I just need to toughen up. And it's not until you get to that kind of final stage of burnout, when you're already in an active crisis, that you might start to realize that you need to be asking for help. And sometimes also you're able to kind of hide it until you get to that crisis point. So other people in your life may not recognize that you're experiencing burnout until you really get to that state of crisis.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So we have some strategies for preventing burnout, and we're going to talk about self-care as one of those strategies too, but some general strategies when we're thinking about a framework for self-care: planning, prioritizing, and learning to say no. This is something that I was mentioning earlier. So the first step of recognizing that, self-care is important is planning and prioritizing self-care, putting it into your schedule. Another strategy is establishing boundaries. So whether that's, boundaries about work, about school, about family life, thinking about what can I do to make things easier on myself? What do I essentially have to do? What are the things that must be done, that I feel like I need to get done? What can I say no to? Rewarding yourself, this is a huge part of self-care. So when you accomplish tasks that you find difficult, how are you going to reward yourself and say thank you to yourself? And then finally, building community. So identifying your community of support, we'll talk about that a little bit later as well, but thinking about who in your school life, who at your job, who in your family, your friends, who is there to support you when you're experiencing hard times. So thinking about how to nourish and foster those relationships.
Mhm. Absolutely. Okay, love this section over here. So planning and organization, just like Sabrina shared, definitely being able to plan some self-care or some fun into your week, into your life is definitely something that we should do more of. And I'm sure in this way, right, if we were looking forward to doing something really fun, like maybe hanging out with your favorite friend or going to your favorite location, that would be something that you look forward to in the week. But if we don't have some of those small ways of looking forward to something, it can definitely be difficult to be motivated or to even understand why you're working towards something. So definitely using a method that works best for you, whether that's a physical calendar, a digital calendar, a calendar on your wall, just using sticky notes, again, whatever works best for you, but definitely being able to organize and plan in a way that you feel comfortable with is something that can help you to prioritize some self-care. So we also have another awesome organization chart that we're going to show you in a second that is really good for prioritizing important versus non-important things.
So
yes.
yeah. So this is the urgent and important matrix. So this is just one system that you can use to kind of organize and prioritize your tasks. So we have on one side of the columns, we have important and then less important. I think some versions of this say not important, but I like to think that, you know, everything that we're considering, like tasks that we need to do, are probably important to us. So I'm just going to say important and less important, and then urgent and not urgent. So this is just a way that you can kind of categorize a list of tasks. So when you get to the beginning of your week, you can make a list of tasks, say, here's all the things that I have to do this week. Here's the things I would like to do this week. And here's the things that I want to try to fit in this week. And then you can go about sorting them into these different quadrants. So we have quadrant 1, which is urgent and important. These are the things we have to do immediately. Quadrant 2, these are things that are not urgent. Maybe they can wait, but they are important. So we want to plan them. We're going to think about when we're going to do them. Quadrant 3, we have urgent but not important. So those are things that we can kind of adjust on our schedule, or maybe we can delegate to somebody else and ask for help when we were talking about community of support earlier. And then quadrant 4, not urgent and not important. So maybe these are things that you know, that are not something that it's something you've identified that you don't want to incorporate into your schedule anymore. So these are things that we can either cut out from our schedule or we can postpone them to a later time.
Perfect. And again, whatever organization strategy works best for you is what we want to be able to share. So if you have a system that you're using that you feel confident in, perfect. But definitely feel free to try out new things as well, because you never know what may work for you in a different time.
Here we have a blank version. So if anyone wants to take some sharing.
Okay, and now we have a small video for you.
Oh, I think we got to share audio.
Oh. Share audio.
You might have to do stop the screen share and then share again with share audio.
Thank you. Okay. Share again with audio. Okay, can you hear it now? No. Okay. 1 second.
Is your system audio up?
Let me see. How about now? Oh, 1 second. Okay, I just turned it on. Better? Yay.
I thought we could hear it, but I don't think we can.
Okay, we'll
That's
share the
tough. That's
video.
okay. We'll send it. We'll send you a link. It is
No
a good
worries.
video. It's Hank Green, who's amazing, talking about how to create a self-care action plan, which is part of any helpful toolbox of taking care of yourself.
Yes, and no worries, because we're going to be able to share the same information with you, which is great. Okay, so let's look at more definitions of what self-care is. So according to the World Health Organization, self-care is the ability of individuals, family, and communities to promote health, prevent disease, maintain health, and to cope with illnesses and disability with or without the support of a healthcare provider. So I really love that last area there where it says with or without the support of a healthcare provider, because I think that that definitely shows how being able to have self-care where it isn't you, going to the doctor and kind of saying like, yeah, you've been having maybe some headaches or things like that going to the doctor is self-care, which it is, but definitely more on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis of self-care is what we're talking about. So being able to to be able to speak to someone if you have an emergency, of course, is self-care and is important, but also being able to maintain a level of balance through self-care throughout your day-to-day is what we would encourage. Awesome.
So we have another definition of self-care that gives a little bit more detail about what self-care can actually entail. So self-care is what people do for themselves to establish and maintain health and to prevent and deal with illness. It is a broad concept encompassing hygiene, general and personal, nutrition, type and quality of food eaten, lifestyle, supporting activities, leisure, etc., environmental factors, living conditions, social habits, etc., socioeconomic factors, income level, cultural beliefs, etc., and self-medication. So this gives a really great overview of all the different things that self-care can encompass. And from this definition, we see what Jorlise was talking about. These are all things that you do on your own to maintain your own health, your own lifestyle, and to support yourself in community with other people. So these are all just some of the factors and types of self-care that we're going to talk about.
Absolutely. Okay, another one of my favorite things. So this is called the Wellness Wheel. So if you've never seen it before, definitely get acquainted with it. It will be really helpful to you in just being able to find a sense of balance or kind of understand how you find balance. So self-care takes place across multiple domains or areas in our life. So as we can see, based off the chart, there's different areas that are involved into your whole like lifestyle or your whole person. So for example, you have physical, right, which we kind of all understand that generally physicians and to be able to live a generally healthy lifestyle, we would recommend having some form of exercise throughout your week. Agreed, right? We've all kind of understood that, but also being able to have positive social connections is important as well. Also being able to feel like you have a purpose or that you're working towards a purpose or some meaning, also important. Also being able to have emotional balance or being able to cope with life stressors, having a positive environment, not being too stressed about finances. I mean, of course, right? We've all understood that at some point. And being able to feel creative and feeling like you're adding to spaces and feeling like you are working towards a job or something impactful, whether that's volunteering or your work that feels meaningful to you. But all of those areas are things that impact how you feel about your life and your general just joy that you have. So it is definitely important to be able to recognize what areas that we feel strong in, and maybe you also recognize what areas we feel weaker in, so that way we can be able to grow those areas to overall feel generally better or more balanced on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, and something else that I want to point out about the wellness wheel is, throughout different times in our lives and different experiences that we may have certain pieces of our wellness wheel pie that are bigger than others and that are more full than others. Like sometimes we might have great social connection, we have great friends, we're doing things with other people that we enjoy, but maybe intellectually, school's really a challenge. We're not feeling intellectually stimulated. We're just kind of stagnant in that area. So we might have this great social area and this smaller intellectual area. And then at some other time, it might reverse. We find this really great class that we're taking. We get really invested in it, but it takes up a lot of our time and we don't have as much time for those social connections. So something about the wellness wheel that's constantly changing, and different areas of it are getting bigger and smaller.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Perfect. So why do college students need to worry about self-care? So we only want to share things to you that matters. And in April 2021, so last year to this day, 71% of college students reported feelings of burnout. And so I think that is a huge percent of students, because not feeling motivated to do things and feeling any of those other symptoms of burnout can definitely affect your academic performance and just even your own emotions as you are going through those. So being able to recognize the warning signs and even be able to get to a support system would definitely be a helpful way of making sure that you have the support that you need.
Yeah, and I think another thing is like when the statistic was, so 2021, we're post the onset of the COVID pandemic, people are taking classes online, people are connecting with other people less frequently, and those circumstances have lasting effects. Even now that we're kind of more emerging, the pandemic is still occurring, but we're doing things in a different way. We're back to in person. Those things can still have lasting effects on our feelings of burnout.
Absolutely. Okay.
So here we have some examples of self-care. So we're getting into kind of like the concrete, how do we actually do self-care? So practicing meditation and mindfulness, even just for a few minutes a day, can make a huge difference. I know that that can be something as small as even just pausing for a few deep breaths. Something that I sometimes challenge myself to do is just walking somewhere and not looking at my phone. I shock myself with how much whenever I'm just walking or doing anything, I'm just on my phone, and walking somewhere from one building to another without my phone, and just paying attention to my surroundings, paying attention to your needs. So whatever those needs might be, emotional, physical needs, just trying to pay attention to them. And even if you're not able to meet them in the moment, it's still an act of self-care to acknowledge how you're feeling and acknowledge what your needs are. Creating boundaries for yourself, like we were saying earlier. So if you have relationships that, people are asking too much of you, being able to have that courage to say no and to create that boundary for yourself. Building your community of support, like we were talking about before, that can be people to support you in tough times, to hold you up when you need accountability. Something that really helps me is if I have a big assignment or a big project that I am working on, I have people in my life who can make sure that I'm working on it and check in with me and ask, hey, how's that big project going? So building your community of support is crucial. Seeking professional help when you need it. I think that everyone can benefit from therapy. And I know that there can be definitely a cost barrier associated with that, but we have some resources that we'll share at the end for free and low cost options for professional counseling. Exercise, like Jorlise was mentioning before, to release endorphins in your brain. Exercise, finding that movement that is comfortable for you and is joyful for you, and trying to do that on a regular basis. So those are all some examples just to kind of get your brain flowing of like, what would you consider self-care?
Awesome. So here's an exercise that I would love for you all to share in the chat. So we'd love for you to identify 3 words from the self-care challenge list that stand out to you as things that you could include in your self-care this week. So I also love to be as specific, that you should be as specific or vague as you prefer, as the self-care challenge shares, to be inspired by whatever the words mean to you. So definitely feel free to trust yourself with your choices. Okay, awesome. We have some feedback. Okay, so
I did not
Leanna.
mean to send it like that. I wasn't ready. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine. No worries, no worries. Would those still be your choices? Number 1 and number 2?
Yes, one.
Okay.
Like there's a whole bunch on here.
Nice. Tell us what's coming up for you, what some of your favorites are.
I would say like number 4, definitely to breathe, because I love to overbook myself with things. Goals throughout the week, put myself on a to-do list. I mean, I've tried that before. It's just some things get me off track and then it's hard to get back on track. That's my problem. I need to be more active, so movement. So yeah, I that's like what I would say. I gotta say all of these has to be like top 30. Well, yeah.
That's awesome. It is, because definitely knowing, again, like what your favorite things are, kind of what stands out to you, but definitely if you're just like, all of these sound like good things to do, and it's because they are. So a matter of if you're making goals or even learning something new about yourself, like right now, all of that is self-care. So whether you're breathing, having a mindfulness walk like Sabrina shared, or whether you're journaling or just choosing to release some stress, like all of that are active ways that you are choosing to have self-care, which is what we want. Perfect. Oh, I see, Sabrina, you shared your favorites as well. Would you like to share?
Yeah, so kind of similar to what you shared, I like breathe. Like I tend to get really overwhelmed and worked up about things that are stressing me out. So just taking the time to just pause, give myself that physical reset with some breathing is really helpful when I start to get that panicky, like I get a lot of like physical anxiety symptoms. So like when I start feeling that, just remembering to breathe. Let's see, what else did I share? Oh, I also shared about socializing. So I am really energized by spending time with other people. So that's something that is really important to me for self-care. And then adventuring. So I really like to at least every week have something that I'm going to go do that I wouldn't do ordinarily. Even if it's just, go trying out a new coffee shop that I don't normally go to.
Nice.
Yeah, Jorlise, I see you shared a few as well.
I did. So music, like I shared before, can be really relaxing for me, whether that's like jazz or hip hop or even just some background noise, like brown noise. I got into that like last month. I would suggest to try it out. Journaling, I love to be able to kind of write out my feelings, and just the process of journaling feels really relaxing to me. And I feel like after I'm done kind of with that journal on whatever length it is, because there's no right or wrong, I feel like that moment in time is kind of, like, I don't know, that moment in time is kind of embraced for that small moment. And water, I definitely love to be around water. Showers make me super happy. Just looking at water being by it, it's just really relaxing. Awesome. Thank you all for sharing. Oh, do we have anyone else who'd like to share?
I guess process of elimination, huh? Let's see. Out of the list, I suppose, rest is very important. I try to do better. I come from state employment before I came here with you guys. Rest wasn't really a thing. So they're like you sleep when you're dead or something like that. So, which is not a healthy thing to have. So I'm getting better about being more restful. Definitely a sense of adventure. I love trying new things. Love new adventure here. So, and definitely music. I enjoy music quite a bit. So lots of things. So that's definitely 3 good ways.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate all of you and your vulnerability. Yay. Let's see what else we have. Okay. So here are some examples of other types of self-care that you can have. And these are fun too, because they are categorized in the different categories of wellness that there are, similar to the wellness wheel that we shared a couple slides before. So this can definitely be helpful in helping you see what form of self-care is your favorite. So definitely take a look at that, recognize maybe where some of your strong areas are, or what your needs are, and we're going to be able to apply that very shortly. And now when looking at this self-care list, is there any group of self-care that someone feels like is definitely like their favorite?
I think that my favorite is definitely social. I mentioned earlier, I get really energized by hanging out with other people. I think that something that I wish that was stronger would be the personal, like cultivating things that I do for myself, more alone. So yeah, does anyone else want to share one that you can share, one that you feel really strong in already, or one maybe you want to get better in or explore more?
I'm great with personal creativity. Like every time when I feel stressed out, oh, I'm taking a break, I either draw, take pictures, or listen or try to create music and everything like that.
That's awesome. It sounds like you have a lot of really creative outlets that can be great for expressing yourself. And also, like, what I love about, when you have that creativity, sometimes you just want to keep what you create for yourself, but then sometimes it's great to be able to share that with other people as a way to connect and convey what you're feeling.
Yeah, I've
Absolutely.
been thinking about that, to be honest. Like, all these knickknacks that I create is like, oh, I can make a business out of this. Like when I tell you that my room is literally crowded with a whole bunch of knickknacks, like I don't even know what to do with them. So maybe like gift them for Christmas or something. Say, hey, here you go. I don't know, but yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that. That's so neat.
Oh, that's very cool. I love that personal is Leanna's favorite, and it's also one that I need to work towards as well, of one of my weaker areas. So that's really cool how we can even be talking about self-care together and have different strengths. So that's definitely I want to be as creative as you. And I feel like my strong area is like still thinking about it, but I would say it's emotional. I feel like stress management, I tend to get overwhelmed as well, and definitely when I notice that, it's kind of like after some time and learning some healthy coping mechanisms, I've definitely learned that immediately, kind of when I'm feeling overwhelmed, that's like a alert system to take a pause or to do some intentional self-care. So with that being something that I'm practicing more often, definitely that it looks like journaling or doing that intentional, like, okay, I need a moment, because if I continue feeling like stressed in this way, I may continue feeling stressed this way. So definitely being able to kind of note that and do something from there. Yeah, awesome. Yay. Okay, so now we've got to our favorite part of the PowerPoint. We would love if you have a sheet of paper in front of you, or to grab a sheet of paper, maybe something to write with. And the first thing that we're going to do is reflect on your current habits, kind of like we were doing together. What current habits of self-care that you're currently practicing or not practicing. And then to number 2, list some ways that you can practice self-care for your mental, physical, and emotional needs.
And then once you have those, for the third thing we want you to identify is think about who in your life supports you, cares about you, who in your life could you call if you needed something. And that can be, that can be a family member, a friend. You can also include like resources like that you have through school, like your professors or success coaching, or your therapist, or whatever the case may be, just some of the supportive people in your life. And then the last thing, try to think about maybe 1 or 2 goals for how frequently you want to try to incorporate self-care. Like, do you want to try to incorporate something every day? Maybe you're not doing anything at all right now, so it might be more realistic to try to incorporate it once a week. So try to think about how frequently you want to incorporate that. So let's give a few minutes and we drop an emoji or a little hello in the chat when you're ready, if you want to share.
Perfect. Okay, I think it's been a couple minutes, possibly. So let me see. Okay. Should I show some examples first or should I ask?
Let's see what we came up with, and then we'll give some more ideas to kind of
Agreed.
what we already thought of.
Mhm. So Leanna, would you like to share maybe some thoughts that you came up with?
My current habits, I tend to sleep a lot, though I have lots to do. Procrastination. Um, I would have to say, oh, to list ways to practice, I would say take at least a day out of the week to just relax. Um, Try to do some things around the house. Try to make space mentally and physically, um, like where your living area, because you know a lot of things tend to get junky throughout the week. So try to clear up your space while doing it. Clear your mind, any negativity. Um, People that support me would be my parents. Um, Set goals for how frequently you will practice self-care. Everyone says it takes at least 21 days to get into a habit, so I'll try to keep myself in the flow of self-care at least like a day out of the week.
Hmm.
I love that. I think with setting goals, you can't just say, okay, I'm gonna go from never doing self-care to doing self-care every day. It's just not realistic. And you don't want your self-care to be something that you're ever like down on yourself about if you're not able to fit it in. It's because it's supposed to be, something that's improving your self-concept and improving your life rather than making you feel worse. So I think it's definitely important to give yourself grace and, say, hey, if I can't meet my self-care goals, like that's okay. We can try again tomorrow. We can try again next week. And realizing that you can always improve. So I really appreciate you sharing. I love the list of different self-care techniques that you came up with.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Me too. Thank you. Nice. Mhm.
Cool. Antonio, did you want to share any?
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to.
I think he may be in
Away.
route. Yeah,
Gotcha.
in route
Gotcha.
right now. No
Cool.
worries, Antonio. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So these are just 3 domains that we wanted to try to focus in on. So on your piece of paper, focus in on these 3 domains. So make a column like we have here for mind, body, and spirit. We can't talk about every single domain all at once. So these are 3 that we decided we could focus on for our plan. So we have some examples of different self-care techniques for each of these domains. So think of either one of these or one of your own that you would like to try and implement in the coming week for each of these mind, body, and spirit. I'll give you a minute to do that. All right, did we have a chance to come up with one technique from each of these 3 categories? We can also take another minute if we need.
I did.
Awesome. Do you want to share, Liana, or do you want one of us to go first?
I'll go.
Okay, cool.
I did for mind. I said reading or other activities that is mentally stimulating. Body, I picked movement, and then spirit, self-reflection.
Awesome.
so-
Awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah, reading is definitely one that I would like to do, but I struggle to set aside the time for. So I love that you included that one.
Me too.
Jorlise, any that stood out to you that you want to try to incorporate this week?
Yeah, absolutely. I found for mine, definitely boundary setting is something I'm working on right now. So it feels good to see my example that I wrote down on here as well. And for body, definitely movement is something I'd like to incorporate more because I love how I feel after. I think it's the before I'm kind of like, but definitely want to incorporate that more. And for spirit, I'm feeling inspired by Liana, and I want to practice more creative things.
Nice, nice. Awesome. Well, these are all great goals that we have to try to incorporate these in some way in the coming week. And like I said, if we don't get to all 3, we just do one, or we don't get to any, you know, there's always the next week to try and incorporate them.
Yes, perfect. Awesome. So here is an example of how you can make your own self-care plan. So the same tips and tools that we just shared can be put into this awesome worksheet that we will email to you. So we have all of your contact information. We have your email. So we'll be able to share that with you. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
I like
Perfect.
this format because it's good to it's good a visual to put up on your wall, you know, so you can constantly remind yourself of your goals for the week or the month or whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm. Now, let's talk about resources here at TCC. So, like me and Sabrina shared, we are academic success coaches, and we would be more than happy to help you personalize your self-care, just your college journey. All of that is definitely involved into our task here to be able to support students on their academic and personal success. So please, please, please definitely feel free to walk in or make an appointment with any of us coaches, which can be found on our Learning Commons website, and super easy to do. And we would be more than happy to have that one-on-one meeting with you. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Academic advising is another place we refer students a lot, so they can help you with anything regarding your enrollment, what classes that you need to be taking, anything about regarding transferring to another school. They can help you with all of those questions. So I know that having that school can cause a lot of worries, so getting some of those questions answered at advising can definitely be a part of self-care.
Absolutely. And also we have an Ego Relief Fund. So that is an awesome resource that's here at TCC. So if you have any circumstances where you would be willing to ask someone for assistance or see what resources could be available, there are some funds available for those circumstances. So definitely if you have any questions about that, please feel free to ask us or your professor or anyone in advising for where that resource can be found.
Yep. The Talents Market is the food pantry that we have here at TCC, free of charge for any students, no questions asked. We'll share some more information about how to access the Talents Market if that's something that you are interested in.
Awesome. And also we have the Student Accessibility Services here at TCC, which is a really great resource. So if you have any accessibility that you'd love to be able to work with. So here at the college level, that's different than the high school level. You would be required to kind of self-disclose with that department. So that way they can then help you when they have advisors there. They're also able to reach out to your professors and share what resources could be helpful for you on that matter on your behalf. So definitely it's a really supportive resource. So if you or anyone you know may be able to benefit from that, please feel free to share.
Yep, absolutely. These are two that I wanted to especially focus on. If you are experiencing a personal circumstance where you have been the victim of a crime, we have a victim advocate program. So if you've experienced sexual assault, physical assault, abusive relationships, please give them a call and they can support you and provide you with necessary resources that you need. And then also the counseling center. So that's the phone number where you can call to make an appointment with a counselor. I know that they are pretty backed up right now. So you may have a little bit of a waiting time for an appointment, but we are going to share some other resources for free and low cost counseling with you if the counseling center isn't a good fit. And I want to close this out with something a lot of us mentioned that we use music as self-care, and I do as well. So this is a song that's pretty simple, pretty repetitive. So I would like if I could lead us in the song and you can stay muted, but once you kind of get the tune and the melody, go ahead and sing along with me. And we're going to be singing it just repeated. So just listen the first time, and once you start to get the melody, sing along. It doesn't matter how you sound because we can just be on mute and no one will know. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. Thank you so much, Liana, for joining us. We really appreciate it and hope that you.
That was lovely.
Self-care. Oh, thank you. I think that singing is a great form of self-care. I make up songs to myself. I sing along in the car. If I'm stressed out about something, I'll sing about it. So that's a great strategy.
Yeah, I love that.
Me too.
Thank you so much for joining us. Oh, we also have a copy of our resource handout. So that's a QR code that you can scan with your phone. And we can get you a copy. I don't know. Are you on a computer or are you on your phone?
I'm on the computer.
Okay,
I got
cool.
it.
Yeah, you can scan it with your phone and get the resources that we have for you. But
Okay,
yeah, thank you again for joining us.
Yes.
Thank you. I
You're
really needed
amazing.
this.
Oh, yay! Perfect. We are here to please and here to help. Here's a list of references, but I'll bring
All
it
my
right
references.
back over here. And we definitely handmade this, right, just to be able to share. And so I definitely want to thank Sabrina for all her hard work in just working together and her beautiful song, Hello.
I want to thank Jorlee so much for everything that you did for this presentation as well. So I'm really glad that we got to do this and meet you, Liana. And thank you so much for being here. Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions for us before we close out today?
Oh, yeah.
No, but I would definitely be using the contacts and emails to contact you guys.
Yeah, for sure. Make an appointment with us anytime.
Anytime.
Okay.
Nice meeting you. Have a good night.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Yay.